Welcome to Wish I'd Known Then podcast. I'm Sarah Rosette.
And I'm Jamie Albright. And this week on the show we have
Ryder O'Malley.
Or Remy Flagg, however
Yes.
you know him. We refer to him as Remy because that's how I know him.
We talked about goals and success and what happens when you achieve your goal, moving the goalpost and contentment and enjoying your success.
Yeah.
And then we talked about covers because he also designs covers. We have some of that in the greenroom chat. And what else did we chat?
It was just great. He talked about his Patreon and what he uses it for and how it's really become something very special to him. And he is not a social media person. He doesn't really love that. So
yes, he says he's grumpy when it comes to social media. So it was interesting because you could tell he really loved his Patreon and interacting with them.
Yeah.
I thought that was great.
Yeah. So what's been going on with you this week?
Let's see. This week I'm doing a project with Jennifer Hilt. We're going to do a mystery thriller trope thesaurus.
I love it.
It's going to be really good. We have down the main tropes we're going to talk about. So I'm finding TV shows, movies, books that illustrate the tropes. And then for each one, boiling it down to 300 to 600 words. So that's a really good writing exercise because you really have to condense it down. So that's what I've been working on this week. And it's been a lot of fun. I'm really enjoying it. And not a whole lot going on the real life front. Just we're in the miserable hot time of year here. And so if I'm going to get my walk in, I have to go early because it's awful. It's like go do my walk, come home and stay indoors most of the day because it's just hot. So nothing super exciting. I did read a really fun book. It's called
I have a book rec too.
It's called the Busybody Book Club. It's by Freya Sampson. And it's fun. It's like it has cozy mystery type elements, but it's also that and a blend of women's fiction, book club fiction kind of thing. Really strong characters. So.
Yeah. Love that. Love that.
So what about you? What are you doing?
Still doing swimming lessons. Lord, y'all. I'm so tired. And
why do you do them for so long?
Because I'm a money whore. That's why, Sarah.
Oh, I forgot.
Yeah.
I knew there was a reason.
Yeah, that's why. I make really good money doing it. And it's like my sister Joni, who passed away, used to say about, because we've all taught swimming lessons. I started teaching when I was 20 with my mom, and we've just all taught them. And she used to say, it's easy money. You just have to get in the pool. It's easy money. And it's true. It's easy money, but you do have to get in the pool. And y'all, my hair is crazy because I wear it up in a ponytail or in a bun. So before we started, my hair was red. A couple of weeks in, my bun has turned golden blondish, and now my roots are growing in brown with just a little fleck of silver, not much. And so now my hair looks like Neapolitan ice cream. I've got the chocolate, the strawberry, and the vanilla. It's awful. It's awful.
A new fashion statement, though.
It's terrible. And I wear my hair like this every day because I'm getting in the water. So that's going on. But y'all, I've read a book that I just loved it. And it's The Wedding People. No, it's just called Wedding People. I don't think it's got the in it, but it's Wedding People.
I've seen that. Yeah, I think I've seen it.
I loved it. I enjoyed the absolute heck out of it. It is The Wedding People, not just Wedding.
Okay.
The Wedding People. And it's by Allison Espach. ESPACH.
Okay.
It's pretty popular. It's all over TikTok. It's all over. If you go to women's fiction or women fiction or divorce fiction or whatever, it's like number 1, 2, or 3 almost every time you look. But it's so interesting. Like, it's such an interesting story. She's so very clever. And just the whole premise of the story is so clever. And I'm not going to give anything away, but I will say it is written. I was like, how is this being written? Because I was listening to it, and I do think you should listen to it. The audio
you do or you don't?
You should, okay. Yeah. But I was like, wait, it's not first person. This is third person. But why does it feel so different? And it's because it's third person present, and intentionally she uses a lot of, like, Phoebe is the main character. And this would be an example. Phoebe opened the balcony doors. Phoebe walked out onto the balcony. Phoebe pulled out a chair. And if You're first, well, why is she doing this? But I really believe that it's a literary tool that she's using because
Huh.
Phoebe is very detached from her life. And
Oh, okay.
it's it is really so good. I just thought it was well done. I enjoyed it. I laughed so hard. My family was just like, "What are you laughing at?" I had my headphones in. I could not stop laughing. And then there were other parts that I was nearly in tears. It was so good.
So it's like the Veggie Tales. You laughed, you cried,
Yeah,
it moved you.
it moved me. It moved me.
Move me, Bob.
Yeah, it moved me, Bob.
Some people will get that Veggie Tales
Yeah,
reference.
but it was probably because it's on the lines, not, and certainly I'm not comparing what I'm running to that because this was really well done.
Uh-huh.
But it is along the lines. It's not, it's a messy story. It's that real world women's fiction.
Okay, so
It's messy story.
yeah, so I looked at and it is listed as in family life fiction. So I didn't even know that was a category.
Yeah.
But that sounds like what you're trying to do. There are other people kind of writing this type of thing.
There are clearly, yeah. But anyway, it's a good beach read. I just
Perfect.
enjoyed it. But again, I would listen to the audio. I've heard from other people that they had done both and they really preferred the audio. Yeah.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's it. That's all I've got going on. This is coming up on my last week of swimming lessons. Then we're going to the beach. So I'm very excited about that.
Yeah. You need a break from the water. So
Yeah,
go to
so
the beach.
I'm going more sun, more sun. That's what I need. Shriveled up a little raisin over here. And my birthday was just this last week. So that was exciting.
So happy late birthday.
Oh, thanks. Thanks. I say it's exciting. I'm just glad to be alive again. One more year.
It's an accomplishment. We get to a certain point and you're like,
right.
Made it one more year.
Waited one more year. But yeah, we should probably get on with the interview because it's so super good.
Yep. So here is Ryder O'Malley, and also known as Remy. We're excited to have Remy here with us today, who writes as Ryder O'Malley.
I'm stoked to be here. I've been looking forward to this interview all morning.
We are glad you're here, and we'll let Sarah read your bio, and then we'll get started.
Remy writes steamy gay romance as Ryder O'Malley and creates book covers and author productivity tools as cover villain.
And Remy and I know each other through Clubhouse. That's how we met at a conference a long time ago, but how we really got to know each other is through Clubhouse, that morning group that I've talked about before. So after listening to him for a while, I was like, we've got to have him on the podcast. He's really smart and he really he digs into a subject and he figures it out. So you guys are going to be very lucky to hear him today. So
thankfully, no one can see my cheeks turning red.
He's blushing.
Tell us how you got into writing.
So it is a weird, very long story. And I think every author does this whole, I've been writing for as long as I can remember. My background is in fine art and writing was never part of it. But weirdly, when I was growing up, I was super into comic books. Like I've read them all. It's a thing. And I wanted to work on comic books. And so I sent artwork to Marvel, basically saying I would love to be on staff. And I'm like 15 or 14 at this time, really young. And they sent back the most blunt rejection letter I've ever seen. And I realized at that point, if I was going to be an artist, I needed to learn how to make art. And I now have 2 art degrees under my belt and I still can't draw to save my life. So I quickly discovered that if I was going to work on comic books, it was going to be as the writer, not as the artist.
Yes.
And when I was younger, I wrote hundreds of comic book scripts. And my best friend in school at the time was really good at art. He did all the drawing and I did all the other stuff. So that's where it started. And then much later in school, Dad found all the old scripts before they sold their house and was like, do you want these? And he's like, you should really get back into this. And it just so happened I was picking my classes and there was an opening in creative writing. And I was like, okay, let's do this. And I wound up liking it so much. You take that class your senior year and you're like, I'm already invested. I can't switch. So it's always been in the background behind the graphic design work. And the love of comics just propelled me through. And if you can't make the art for a comic book, you can do the novelizations for them. Right. That's essentially where my first book started coming from, was my inability to draw. So let's focus on the words.
Okay. And your first books, were they the superhero books?
My very first book, I was a high school teacher working at a very toxic school. And so to alleviate that, I was writing YA zombie books because I this is going to sound horrible coming from a teacher. I wanted a way to get revenge on the students and not go to jail. And so
I think it sounds healthy, honestly.
I think it sounds 100% normal.
I unleashed the zombie apocalypse in my high school.
There you go.
So my first couple
That is
books
funny.
were suburban zombie high. We're not even trying to hide it anymore. And while it was fun, it wasn't what I wanted to be doing. So eventually I did move into very superhero driven, kind of dystopian sci-fi, hitting all of those fun genres at the same time. But my superheroes, unlike comic books, were more what if real people did have them. So there was a lot of like weird science research to try and get it on there. And one of the things that I probably should have done a little more research was I'm writing all these books and having a great time doing it, but I never stopped to ask, does anyone want to read these books?
Is there an audience?
Yeah, some of us don't ask that question early enough.
What was the answer, Remy? What was the answer?
The answer is I sold a book today. Woo! So yeah, I was 13 books into the series when it dawned on me, I need to take a step back and think about this.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that I wasn't doing bad. It just wasn't growing like you would expect with such a big backlist. When you're starting out, you're not thinking about any of that. At a certain point, you're like, if this is going to be a thing, I got to start treating it like a thing. And I just quickly realized that was a very large boulder up a very steep hill. And I'm willing to do the hard work, but can we make the boulder and the mountain a little tinier?
Yeah, it's something more manageable. Yeah. Attainable. Yeah. Very good. And we're going to talk about all that a little bit later,
But ultimately, that's what kind of got me into the writing and then what kind of got me focused in on this superhero thing. And I still haven't let go of the superhero thing. I just changed the environment and now they take their spandex off a lot more often in my books.
Well, what is your definition of success?
Okay, so this is a kind of a hard question to answer because I think as an author, we set a goalpost. Just before we obtain it, we moved it. So I don't actually think many of us ever obtain our definition of success because it's constantly evolving. And what I've been trying to do is move the goalposts after I reach it. That way you can bask in the, whoo, I made it. And then go, what's the next step? Instead of going, I've never gotten to where I want to be. Because it started out really simple. I just wanted people outside my family to buy my books. That happened. And then I was like, okay, what's the next benchmark? And then it was, I want to make enough money so that I can pay a bill. I hit that. And then it was, I wonder if I can make it pay all my bills. We got there and then it kept growing every time. But I always felt that I was never happy with where it was because we're not taught to be happy or content. And so eventually now I'm at the spot where my writing pays for my vacations. It allowed me to quit my daytime job. And now I'm freelancing as a college professor. So it's allowed me to do all these things. But my definition of success, I have to be honest, I don't know what it is because I don't think I've ever gotten there because I haven't allowed myself to get there. So that is a roundabout. I don't quite have an answer.
But you made some good points while you were getting there. Yeah.
If I made enough money to allow me to quit education, so I've moved out of a formal classroom. I moved into an online classroom. I went from high school into college. Now I'm in grad school. I've got a lot more freedom with it, but there's still limitations. I can't be working and leave the country. And the moment they apply a limitation, I'm like, my writing's almost at a place that will allow me to get rid of that limitation. So I think the next benchmark is when I can completely leave education and treat this as my only job.
Yeah.
But I'm sure I'll move it literally the day before I get it.
Yeah. What do you wish you'd known about writing and craft when you started?
I grew up in the backwoods of Maine. And when I published my first book, the first Suburban Zombie High, this was not any sort of serious publication. This was Amazon would allow me to get a print copy of a book and just you get to wave it around and feel like an author. And the first person who bought it that wasn't my parents, which come to find out my parents didn't even buy it,
Very
was someone
common.
in my writing group. And her name was Amelia Atwater Rhodes. And weirdly enough, her mom was my former boss. So we had all these weird interconnected, but she is a fairly well-known writer. And sitting across from me, she puts the book on the table and she just politely says, "Are you open to feedback or do you just want to move on?" And my background is in art. And so, like, we are brutal with critiques and like we tear each other down left and right. And it's just part of the process. And so I was like, "Hit me." And she goes, "Every piece of dialogue is tagged incorrectly."
Oh, it's painful.
I just politely reached across the book and opened it up. And as I was looking at it, I realized I don't actually know if it's incorrect.
Yep.
And
Yep.
so I went home. I was super angry, and not at her, like
Yeah.
100% respect her, but I was super angry that I didn't know something as basic as how to properly use dialogue.
Oh, yeah.
And I went home. I literally bought a book that night and just started reading. Devil in the Details was an amazing book. But what dawned on me was people were like in high school or middle school when you're learning grammar and whatnot, like, how did your teachers approach that? And I realized in my school system, we didn't learn grammar until the second half of my senior year. And it was such a poor experience that I had to step back and realize this is something I don't know. And because first time publisher, I put it out without an editor, big mistake. And so that, and I still to this day with my students, I'll explain to them, I will never ever discuss grammar with you because I am not the right professor for that.
Yeah.
And now I have an editor who is very aware of my shortcomings and has no problem pointing them out, but also, God bless her, will say things like, "I've noticed you've been doing this a lot lately. Let's explain why this isn't a good situation." And so that editor, worth every penny, has made me a better writer and made her job easier along the way. So I just wish if I had known that this was going to be where I would go, I would have actually paid attention in an English class instead of trying to get sent to the principal's office.
Yeah, I have the same experience. That was the first night that I went to that critique group. The first thing they said was, "Do you even know what a dialogue tag is?" And I was like, "No, as a matter of fact, I do not." That's
feel
why
like
I came to you.
What you do in fiction is very different from what you do 99% of the time in English class.
That's
It's
true.
like you don't really learn those skills in English. You are aware of them, but then when you go to do it yourself, it feels very different and weird. But kudos to you for taking the feedback, because I probably would have just run crying from the room just like before they said anything.
I did make it out of the room because we were in a Panera Bread of all places. I made it out without having a breakdown, and I saved it for when I got in the car.
Yep.
It definitely did happen.
Yeah. The Panera Bread is where all the brutal honesty happens.
It's because of the bread bowls. I swear to it.
I think you're right. We're all hopped up on gluten and we just let it fly.
Yeah.
And it's funny because we did not learn something. And yet when you get that feedback, it is 100% personal. It's, I failed at this. And now I'm willing to actually blame someone. In education system, you just failed me.
Yeah, I thought that it was me too. Like I thought, because I was never, I was a very B student, and probably they were being nice, because I know now I had I couldn't pay attention for anything, but I really did think it was just me. But then after I published and everything, I'm still really good friends with my girlfriends from school, and we meet several times a year. And I was telling them, and they were like, "I didn't know those things either. Like I had to learn those things." So it made me feel better that it wasn't just me. It was a hole in the system that we were not taught some of the things that we needed.
When I was a teacher, I had to go supervise an English class. They were all getting together and they were doing sentence diagrams.
Oh, now I do remember that.
Mr. Gavin, I just remember him breaking down the sentences for them. And he was, at this time, I'm 35, so it's not even a decade ago. I'm looking at what he's teaching them. And I was like, this never came up. And he was using words that I was like, I don't actually know if I know what that part of speech is. I'm going to go home and get a dictionary and look this
Yeah.
stuff.
I don't think I've
Diagramming
ever
sentences.
diagrammed a sentence correctly.
Oh my goodness.
It shows in my speech.
Yeah.
But when at the Panera Bread for me, when I broke down, because I took a lot of criticism, like from day one, and it was like 2 months later, 2 months into it, and I'm still getting just ripped. And they got me for sentence fragments the one time. I came back the next week, thought I had fixed it, and then they got me for run-on sentences. I did cry that night, but I did wait till I got in the car. I was like, I'm never gonna get this.
I feel that there should just be napkins in the parking lot for when breakdowns happen.
There's a little sign, riders stop here on their way to the car.
Exactly.
Can this podcast be sponsored by Panera? Because I feel like there's an
that would be
ongoing trend
perfect.
here.
We'll reach out to them. Yeah. What about marketing? What do you wish you'd known about marketing?
Okay, so my background, because I went to my undergrad is in fine art with a minor in communications. So I always had my hand in business. And what I wanted to do at that point was be an art director for like a major brand or whatnot. And I didn't want a cubicle lifestyle. So that went away pretty quickly. But I've always had this business back end to design and art. And when I wound up going back to school for my master's degree, I went to Savannah College of Art and Design, and their motto is the business of art. So half the classes I took were not design related, but they were literally the business of art, like writing grants, writing artist proposals, learning to market your art. Like, how do you go about that? So I've always had that background. And the funny thing was, much like the criticism, I turned around to writing, which is another fine art, and completely ignored any sort of marketing because it's an art form. Like, you just put it out there and you'll be famous. Like, any person who's ever painted a painting thinks that they paint it and suddenly they'll have fame. So it didn't make sense. It should have translated and it did not. And so for the first probably, I'm going to say 4 years, 5 years. And at this point, it's like maybe 5, maybe 6 books. I don't think I did any marketing. And I still remember the first time someone mentioned newsletter blasts. I met this horror author at a conference, and his name is Chris Philbrook, very big in the audio world. And I asked him, like, how do you just get people to know about your book? And he was like, oh, you can do like a newsletter blast. And I was like, what is that? And thankfully, he was super tolerant of me back then. But it wound up being like, oh, there's this whole other world of marketing. I literally, somewhere in my brain, thought if you hit the publish, if you build it, they will come.
Yeah, absolutely.
Despite knowing all of that business stuff. So I think things changed once I realized, oh, being an artist is a business. Being an author is a business. You have to treat it that way.
No, I agree. It's something, it's hard. That's basically how I came into it too. People know that, but put out a book and you're like, okay, who's going to read my book? Nobody, because they don't even know it's there. And you have to let people know, and you got to let the right people know. That's the problem.
And I think once I started asking questions about the readers, it stopped being just about putting the book in their hand and started being a little more analytical. What are they looking for? Not in a philosophical way, but is there data to tell me this? And the more I went down that rabbit hole, I was like, oh, there's not exact data, but look at this study by Swiffa, or romance writers have this about tropes or whatever have you. And so I realized, oh, you can make some decisions on what might actually sell. And in the art world, it was the same thing. If right now abstract art is super trendy, your installation of fine cheeses is probably not going to sell. So maybe shift or find your niche, one or the other.
Exactly.
I say that I actually did see an installation of fine cheeses. So I just want to put that out there.
It really happened.
Yeah. What are you glad you know now?
Ooh, I think the biggest thing for me is knowing that this is a business, that if I don't do certain things, my bills might not be paid. So I can sit at home and wax poetic and talk about my feelings and the characters and whatnot. But if I don't produce something, am I going to have electricity next month? So the moment I started relying on the income from my books, I think I started taking it a little bit more seriously. I don't know to a good place because I need to produce a chapter today. Today was a rough day. My brain just was not feeling it, but here it is. And then you go check and you're like, that's going in the trash bin. That's not actually good.
I spent all that time and I'm not using that. Yeah.
And then so I think there's the pressure of you have to produce, make your business successful, but sometimes forcing it. And now what I'm trying to do is find that equilibrium between the art and the business. And I don't know if anyone has ever gotten it correct. I don't think any of us ever will. I think it's a three-dimensional seesaw of doom. But I think that's what I understand now is to pay my bills, I have to do work.
What do you still need to figure out?
So I had to go back and look at this because at a certain point, I always laughed when authors were like, I don't know how many books I've written. Oh, now I get it.
Yeah.
I'm at 27 books right now. By the end of the year, I'll hit 30. And I think this is going to sound super weird. I think I just figured out my voice. The romance book that I'm about to put out detours from I'm going to, for lack of a better term, say formula of my previous books. And there was just some things that I was like, I want to put into this story that don't quite fit the tone. So let me massage it and work with it. And I've always been told I'm super, when I write like critical essays or whatever, that my emotions are always on the surface. And so I realized I write humor because I'm personally deflecting my emotion. And I swore I would never, ever write it because it just doesn't appeal to me. Grump Sunshine. Everything about that sounds horrible. Now that I'm being honest with myself, it's because I pretend I'm the sunshine and we all play the grump. And so as I got through it, I was like, I think I'm working through some things in this book now. And I think I sent it to my editor and she literally just responded with cried here.
Oh, that's great.
And so I think I'm starting to learn what my voice is, but it sounds really weird to say that 27 books in. And then the other thing that I have started to explore is this word success and putting that pole into the ground and not moving it. So when I hit it, I can celebrate and be victory and not instantly turn into what's the next benchmark.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I got a lot of things to still figure out.
That's okay. We all do. We all do. What's the most unhelpful advice you've gotten?
Okay. So when I was in 7th grade, we had a guest author come into the school. You might know his name, Stephen King.
Oh, yes.
And I grew up in
Oh, him?
Yeah, that one. You might have heard of one of his books. So it was funny. He came in and he does exactly what Stephen King does. It was very informative, and a bunch of 7th graders, we were not prepared for any of this advice. Like, this is more like grad level conversation. But I remember him talking about putting his butt in the chair every day. Like, that was like an adamant thing for him. And so I think we all walk out believing that if we are not Jack from The Shining, we have not earned the title of author.
Yeah.
I need to be slaving away at the key, or not even keyboard. It's got to be a typewriter, like old school typewriter all day long, wallowing in my misery.
Addicted to nicotine and
yeah, like all the vices, the more authorly you are.
Yeah.
And weirdly enough, I do write every day, but there is a certain point where you're like, I don't wanna. And it's called a mental health day. In any other business, you take the day off. But because we're our own bosses, we feel like this is what we have to do. So I'm calling out Stephen King as the most unhelpful advice I've ever had. And not because the advice is necessarily bad, but because of the way it's delivered as a universal truth.
Yeah, it's about time he got called out is all I got to say.
Yeah, that's a hot take right there, but not really, because I think the whole writing community has come, or the indie author community has come to our senses and realized there's not one way to do everything.
Right.
And some people can write every day and it's fantastic. Other people don't, and they're still fine. And they're still authors and writers, and they still are productive.
Yeah.
And should anyone say anything, I just want to point out he already made Randall Flagg the devil, so I'm just carrying on family tradition.
You're just giving it back. Yeah.
It's time. But yeah, it's more, and that goes not just for, that's for pretty much any advice, is if one of you has amazing success and you say, this is what I think you should do, it's running it through the filter of they're saying, this is what you should do. It worked for me, but it's not don't receive it as a universal truth. Just put it through oh, that did work for them. Let me give it a shot. They're not guaranteeing me anything, but it is a possibility to experiment with. So I think Becca Syme has the question, the premise, and I quote that all day long.
Yep.
It's now part of my vernacular.
Yeah.
But do you need to write every day? You don't have to.
No. And some people aren't. There are binge writers out there. There are nighttime writers, morning writers. Being a college professor, I've now experimented with all of them, and to each their own. But I always phrase it as, if it's not working for you, have you considered?
That's a great way to put it. Yeah. What's the biggest change you've had to make in your thinking?
We've all heard this phrase, and I think it makes everyone cringe these days. Side hustle. If you have a hobby and you haven't monetized it, you've obviously done something wrong. And I'll be the first one to admit blame on this. For a long time, I worked with the NaNoWriMo folks, and they just want to write. They have some of them might have ambition towards being an author, but some of them just want to sit and write and be in a community. And I remember having to take a step back and going, they don't need to turn this into a side hustle, which I don't even like that phrase. It's called a second job. Some of them just want to do it for the joy of doing it and let that exist. There's a place for that. And then for myself, when writing started becoming more income than my day job, it started turning into a situation of, stop calling this your side hustle. Teaching is technically your side hustle now. Don't go into a teaching job and call them a side hustle. They don't really like that. They frown on that one a lot. So trying to treat it like a job, it's a job unlike any other job I've ever had, but it is a job, and stop treating it like a side hustle. It's not a throwaway piece of your life now. Hi, I'm Ryder O'Malley. I'm an author. We can't treat that like a side hustle these days.
If you were starting over today, what would you do differently?
There were a long list of items for this one. It got rather lengthy. Those bullet points started to rack up. The first thing I would do is simply ask the question, does anyone want to read this? Because, and this goes back to the superhero thing. There are, I'm going to say, several successful superhero authors out there who are making their living on it. But the problem is, I made the assumption that because comic books make millions of dollars, that obviously people want superhero stories, but without pictures or artwork or
little frames to read the story in. Yeah.
Or not their favorite characters. And suddenly dawned on me, I was asking the wrong question. I was asking, does anyone want superheroes? Not, does anyone want superhero novels?
Yeah.
So I've been much more careful about, I write gay superheroes, right? And the reason I wound up in that was because I went to the Amazon top sellers page and I realized in the superhero category, it was all very smutty superheroes. And I was like, I can so do that. I wanted that. I want to hang out with those folks.
Those are the folks I want to hang out with. Yeah.
And so I realized, it is a popular thing. And matter of fact, it actually, non-smutty superheroes find it difficult to get there. So I was like, okay, let's try this out. And then I just made the decision. I wanted to write all gay all the time. And it's just become part of my brand. I know it limits my numbers, but I took all of that into account when I was making the transition. So I haven't lost the superheroes. They just save the city in between naked time.
Yeah. Yeah. It's their side hustle. Yeah. See what I did there?
That's going in a book.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. I think all gay all the time should be a bumper sticker. I really think that's a marketing opportunity right there.
And when I moved into the small town, MJ Kahn and Alex Stone actually made the suggestion, because I was like, I'm making good money. I'm making like yay money. How do I make more money? And they said, you have to find a way. You've gotten really good at being in a niche. Try and niche up. And so it was either I lose the gay characters or I lose the superheroes. And I was like, oh, decisions have to be made. And
Yes.
so my first small town book, the character owns a comic book store. That was the furthest away I was allowing myself to go. And I went into it kicking and screaming. I did not want to write small town. And now all I want to do is write small town. I want to live in a Hallmark movie.
Yeah, I know. We were talking before we got on, and it hasn't really come up, but I want to bring it up because you were talking about at the beginning of this year, you really have leveled up, like success wise, you have leveled up. And you were saying nobody really talks about what happens to you when that happens. Talk a little bit more about that and let's discuss.
So I was having a conversation with someone about this. We've all thought, what if I won the lottery? I'm going to go buy that private jet. I'm going to get a yacht. But that's the wishful thinking piece of it. But imagine you did just get that ticket and you won the lottery. Like the logistics of your life after that part where you go, crap, I've got a lot of money. What do I do? And first thing, of course, we all just go quit our day jobs because who needs the money? Without your day job, what do you do with your life? I don't know if I know how to retire like that. That would weird me out. I'm still working as a college professor because I like a little bit of structure in my life. And so at the end of last year, I hit my benchmark. I was very satisfied with my end of year numbers. I was just literally like a couple $100 shy of the number I wanted. And then I made that number by March of this year.
Wow, that's so great. I got chills. That's so cool.
And as of this morning, I'm at 196% of last year's income. And that's not even some people will be like, what's the actual number? The number's not big. I own my house outright. Like I don't have any bills. Like I live a very sparse life. So I don't need a lot of money. But when you suddenly have the ability to quit your day job, should you? And that became everyone talks about having so much money in the bank for security and whatnot, but no one mentions that without a boss, do you actually get stuff done?
You don't. I'll just tell you that right now. If you're me, you don't.
And accountability is complicated, or as simple as I'm saving to go on an international trip and I'm taking my mom to Scotland because she wants to see a Highland coup. What are the restrictions? And okay, I'm going to have to take some time off work. And so you hit that number, that thing that supposed to make you happy. And you're like, I had a cupcake that day. What now? And so you win the lottery. Do you keep playing the lottery?
Yeah.
It puts a lot of stuff into a little bit of a tailspin. And I'll be honest, and I'm still grappling with it. I went into this weird depression for 2 or 3 months because what do you do now? Like I have a pretty rigorous work ethic. I love a good schedule. There's a table on top of a table, Excel sheet for everything. And all of it suddenly, all of those struggle moments that you've been working towards, suddenly the struggle's gone. What now? And then if you do move the goalpost and you say, okay, I've hit this, let's now try towards this, then are you taking the time to enjoy the current success? And so I think I had maybe that was a midlife crisis.
We just recently talked to an investment expert about our finances and stuff. And he was like, and when do you want to retire? And neither one of us is like counting down the days to retirement. And we will probably always both continue to do something. He said, statistically, people who retire, if they don't have a sense of purpose, he said they have health problems within 4 years, and within 8, they're generally dead. If you hit a huge goal, you've achieved what you were aiming for, then you've got to reassess everything. Like, where am I now? What am I doing now?
When it happens, you've spent, so for me, I first published in 2007, and it took me, what is that, like 18 years? 18 years of my identity suddenly shifted. It was no longer, I'm the struggling author and I'm working toward, here's my 2-year, 3-year, 5-year plan. And suddenly you're like, oh, I just got to the 5-year plan. And you've had 17 years to get to, wow, 17 years, that's crazy. But you've had all that time to build up this identity, like your sense of self and your self-worth and all of that. It shifts. And oh yeah, I still have another book I need to write because this hasn't stopped. And so that was people need to talk about not like I've heard the how to get out of your day job conversation, but I haven't heard the what happens when you get your brass ring, you reach your milestone, you finally can celebrate, and then what happens the day after when the party's done,
Yeah.
when the honeymoon is over.
Yeah. And then, and this is something that people don't talk about, but it's very true because I've seen it happen. It also happened to me. You spend a lot of time worrying that it's going to go away. And sometimes that's very crippling. And people don't talk about it, but they do talk about it. Like they're not saying, "Oh, I'm so worried this is going to go away," but they're saying other things. And if
It's
you
like
listen,
subtext,
yeah, it's
right?
very much subtext, and it makes people a little nuts, and it makes them do things they wouldn't normally do. I'm not talking about necessarily ethical things, but I am talking about how you treat other people. You become very secretive, you become paranoid. I've just seen that happen to people, and I think it should be at least addressed. And what can you do to make that not happen, or at least to be aware of it?
And I was really lucky because I refer to her as my work wife, but Trish Heinrich and I we met at the Chicago show. She was meant to be my arch nemesis, and now she's my bestie. And so we were writing superheroes at the same time. And during that stage, I was having all the success and she was the struggling one. And so there was a certain amount of make sure you are being supportive, don't rub it in the face, all of
Yeah.
that. And we were doing literally, and I'm not even kidding, the same AMS keywords.
Mm.
Mine would work, hers wouldn't.
Yeah.
My Facebook would work, hers wouldn't. So I was seeing all the success. The year before I switched to romance, she moved into alien romance. And I was like, this is supporting you, but this sounds weird.
Yeah.
And then her first book came out, and I was like, I'm officially eating curl on this one. And I hope you take that check to the bank. But the roles had switched, and suddenly she was the one being like, I don't want you to feel this. And I was like, no, you've earned this. And we've always been super honest. But even then, you get nervous being successful because you're like, one, is the person next to me more successful and talking crap about me? Or is the other person not successful and now I sound like I'm bragging?
Yeah.
And so thankfully we had that. And then when I switched, mine came up and now she's doing a switch. And so I was like, it's your turn to be rich and famous now. So I'm holding out for you.
Yeah.
But we do all get a little bit weird. And I hate to admit this, the paranoia does set in. I hit my 100% of the year. Like on the day, I was like, I told everyone, everyone needed to know it. The next day, I made $2 on Amazon. And you see that chart, you see the mountain of income, and you're like, this is amazing. And the next day that happens, and you're like, it was a one-hit wonder.
Yeah. The avalanche has begun.
And every day you log into the dashboard, you're like, is today the day that I'm no longer successful?
This might be a good point to ask you about your Patreon. A lot of authors use that kind of to level out these highs and lows, these roller coaster rides. Is that how you do your Patreon, or how do you do yours?
So my Patreon, I will be the first one to say I started my Patreon far too early because I didn't have the fan base. And I still think I probably don't, but I enjoy the community aspect of it.
That's a fine reason to have one.
Yeah, exactly.
Jamie gets to hear me every day. Every time someone brings up social media, I'm like, ugh, bah humbug.
The grump.
I'm right there with you.
100% the grump on that one. And Jen Falls, because I got to cite her on this one, was like, you need to read this book. And it was Fans First by Jesse Cole, who is the owner of the Savannah Bananas, who I had no idea who this was, like baseball. And so I read this book, and it took the 1,000 True Fans concept and turned it into a philosophical conversation of how to lower friction between fans and turning them into super fans, not because you want to make money off them, but because you just enjoy fandom.
Yeah.
And everything in this book resonated with me. Matter of fact, I finished the book, went and bought the audiobook so I could listen to him narrate it to me. And I realized my Patreon, while I was making, and when I say money, like I hit like $70 a month, and I was like, whoo, rolling in.
Yeah.
And I realized like I was putting too much emphasis on that number, and I didn't like trying to squeeze my readers for extra money, which is what it felt like to me. And not to say that is that's just how it was for me. And then when I read this book, I was like, I always liked the idea of a Facebook group. I never had success with it, but this is like a group, and it does a lot of the newsletter stuff, and there's community tools now, and it's grown quite a bit into a community space. And I was like, I wonder if I could use the fans first methodology here. And since I've done that, I actually look forward to interacting with them. Like literally minutes before I got on this podcast, I was like, hey guys, I'm going on a podcast. Like I haven't been on a podcast in forever. This is going to be so weird. Like I am nervous. And before, like 3 minutes before, just the comments started coming in. And I was like, oh, you people are just amazing.
Yeah, that's great.
So I've stopped treating it like a cash flow because I've never had great success with that. So I'm treating it as the fan space first. I give away just about everything for free. They can read my novel as I'm writing it as one of the tiers, but everything else is just they make fun of me because yes, I'm the grump, but when I am on Patreon, I am sunshine 24/7. And I am a cheerleader to the nth degree. We do Monday affirmations, and then we do Friday check-ins on our victories.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
And they giggle. Apparently, the last video I did for them, I did not cry during it, and they thought something might be wrong.
Very good.
I love the way you're talking about this because Patreon, when I think of it, and when I've heard a lot of other people talk about it, is very much about you create these levels and you figure out what you're going to give away. And then there's an obligation that I've always felt, but I don't know if I want to be pressured to have material or something to give to sponsors every
People
week
that
or
are
whatever.
paying for it. Yeah.
But this sounds much more, hey, let's get together and talk about books and things we're interested in, which that's a total mind shift.
It is, because if I walked up to you and said, hey, I'll give you $20, your first response is, what for?
Why?
And also super creepy, but
Yeah.
and that's what it felt like. And so when I very first started, of course, I'm big into Discord, and Patreon has a really lively Discord. And so I went in there, and Patreon has this thing called A teams, and they're just accountability buddy teams. And I did one with a bunch of writers. And what I learned from them was we all went and looked at each other's Patreons and gave suggestions and whatnot. And the kind of the veterans in the group were like, dude, you're offering so much stuff. You need to back off. Like you are going to run yourself into the ground. You were creating like this sense of obligation. So back off. And I did. And now almost everything that I give away is part of my normal publication process. So my middle tier gets all my books for free, but I'm already publishing them. So I just have to send them. The chapters every Friday, well, I'm writing them. So all I'm doing is posting them over. And part of my small town is Firefly Valley. And so we talk about nightlights all the time. So I made little nightlight stickers and I just sent it to all of them.
Yeah.
Globe. It was cool. And they were like, oh, but I'm not part of your tier. I don't care. Just you make me happy. Here's my response.
Take the sticker. Yeah.
Just take the sticker.
This kind of, I didn't have this written down, but I did want to touch on this because for a grump that doesn't like social media, you have a couple of places that you're really active in. Discord is one of them. And you really love Discord. And can you tell us what you wish you'd known about getting on Discord and why you like it so much?
I wish I knew that most people didn't like Discord.
Sure.
So my Discord there's 70 people in it. Like I don't even push it anymore.
Yeah.
And of those 70, probably 20 of them are authors. Another 20 of them are my former students. So it became a holding ground for my whole life, not just my romance stuff. But every Tuesday night, we have a watch party where all we do is talk trash about whatever we're watching. And so like there's only a handful of active people. I only post in there probably once every 2 weeks at this point. But if someone wants to reach out to me, it's always open. So ding, there it is. And they know it's a fast way to get a hold of me. So I stopped pushing that because Patreon introduced community chats. And at that point I was like, it feels like I'm doing twice the work.
Too much. Yeah.
So the Discord is like for the ultra super duper fan, but not necessarily fan of my books, fan of me.
Yeah.
Patreon is fan of books. So I get to narrow down. But yeah, I was a high school teacher. You walk in 7:15 in the morning, that light switch goes on. And if you are not ready, those children will eat you alive.
Yes.
So not to say it's performative. I always say Ryder is just me at an 11.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's so much easier to be somebody else.
It is. It's much easier to be somebody else. This has been so great. What do you think what do you think the best thing you've done to set yourself up for success has been?
I like to ask what if a lot now. Much going back to that lottery question, what if I did win the lottery? And so I've taken daydreaming and formalized it. And now I actually keep some notes on the what ifs. For instance, right now I'm working on building my newsletter. What if I did hit my target goal? And then I'm like, how would I change things? And so I work the daydream process into my business. Like I call it's that informal roundtable with yourself. And that's been helpful because then at least I think I've brainstormed it a little bit. I might not have fleshed it out, but it's not like it's hitting me out of the blue anymore. And so now I'm like, okay, last time I hit my income numbers, I lost it. So what happens when I hit 300%? Like, let's explore this before it happens. So I'm ready.
Yeah. So you're not so shocked, right?
Yeah. And it's going to happen. I'm manifesting. It's going to happen.
That's great. Positive Affirmation Monday. That's great.
Where can people find out more about you and your books?
Probably the easiest place is my website. It is authorrydero'malley.com. You just Google Ryder O'Malley. It's me. It's always me at this point.
Great.
Perfect.
This has been so wonderful. Thank you for being here. Such a great.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Such a great discussion. Yeah.
Now it's going to be a shocker when I go to listen to the podcast and I'm like, wait, I know this person.
I know. Yeah. Of course, I listen to the podcast and think, one, why do I laugh like that? And two, who let Loretta Lynn have a podcast? Because that's what I sound like.
I'm very okay with that analogy, though. I was hoping, I got to be honest, I wanted big Texan hair.
Swimming lessons. No, I'm doing swimming lessons. This is it. It's up in a bun the whole time.
This is why the podcast is audio only.
It's exactly right. That is exactly right.
Yeah. All right. We will have all those links in the show notes, and you can find those at wishidknownforwriters.com. And if you want to support the podcast, you can find the link to do that at wishidknownforwriters.com/support. So thanks for listening today, and we'll see everybody next time.
Bye.
Bye.